Djokovic acknowledges Eala's impact to tennis. Alex Eala caught the attention of tennis great Novak Djokovic after the Filipino tennis sensation's presence at the Australian Open drew a huge crowd at the venue. Djokovic, who has won 10 Australian Open titles, reflected on the tournament's evolution and took a moment to acknowledge the rising tennis star. "I saw the other day with Alex Eala. You know that she has been a talk, which has been understandable. Some players came from their respective countries. She's coming from the Philippines, which is now a big deal," Djokovic said at the media conference following his second-round win against Francesco Maestrelli. Djokovic, who first played in the Australian Open in 2005, understands that there are challenges in management and venues when it comes to handling a jam-packed crowd, but overall, it's a good sign for the tennis community. "She has been the biggest tennis player from that country, which is a big country and has a big interest," Djokovic said. "So things like that happen, and you can argue that maybe a poor schedule, or they can schedule it in bigger courts, yes, but she's so young. And she's just coming through, and in the first couple rounds the schedule is packed, and the big courts with big names." On the first day of the tournament, when Eala saw action, organizers of the Australian Open faced ticketing woes. The Filipino fans also created a logjam outside Court 6 at Melbourne Park. "It's difficult to manage that, but again it's a good problem to have, to be honest," Djokovic said. "Having too much crowd in any tournaments is a good problem to have. There are many problems to have. Every tournament wants record-breaking attendance and ticket sales, I have been hearing in the past couple of years in most of the slams and tournaments." Eala's popularity began to rise after she defeated six-time Grand Slam champion Iga Swiatek at the Miami Open last year. Eala, a product of Rafael Nadal's academy in Mallorca, became the first Filipina to win a WTA Tour match in 2021. She followed that up with a junior Grand Slam title at the US Open in 2022. "It's a good sign. We want more attention. We want more people coming, and we want more people watching tennis live and following it and live streaming," added Djokovic. "Greatness," Novak Djokovic has learned, is not always loud. Sometimes it arrives with a left-handed forehand that arcs like a promise. Sometimes it comes wrapped in a shy smile, carrying the weight of a nation that has learned to watch tennis through hope. And sometimes greatness is acknowledged not with trophies or headlines, but with a sentence, simple, sincere, spoken by the sport's most exacting champion. "I see what she's doing," Djokovic said, when asked about Alexandra Eala. "It matters." In tennis, such words are not tossed casually. Djokovic has built a career on precision, of movement, of diet, of thought. His praise, when it comes, is measured. And yet, in those few syllables lay an understanding that went beyond rankings and results. He wasn't just recognizing a young player's talent. He was acknowledging an impact. Alex Eala's impact does not announce itself with dominance. It hums. It grows. It reaches places tennis has rarely lingered. For the Philippines, a nation whose sporting heartbeat often pulses to basketball and boxing, Eala represents a widening door. Courts once hidden behind schools and private clubs now feel closer, more possible. A child watching grainy highlights on a phone sees not an imported dream, but a familiar face, someone who speaks their language, carries their cadence, and plays with a joy that feels accessible. Djokovic knows something about carrying a flag. He rose from a country rebuilding itself, playing through uncertainty, turning adversity into a second serve that refused to crack. When he looks at Eala, he recognizes a familiar tension, the balance between individual ambition and collective hope. That recognition is not sentimental. It is practical. It understands the pressure of being the first in a way that reshapes expectations for everyone who follows. What Eala has done, what she continues to do, is expand tennis map. The sport has always traveled, but it has not always stayed. It visits cities, crowns champions, then moves on. Impact is what remains when the cameras leave. In Manila, impact looks like longer lines at public courts. It looks like parents asking coaches about footwork instead of just wins. It looks like girls choosing rackets without being asked to justify the choice. Djokovic's acknowledgement lands precisely there. not at the highlight reel, but at the ripple. He understands that tennis, at its healthiest, is an ecosystem. Stars matter, but so do pathways. Inspiration is not an abstract concept, it is logistical. It needs access, belief, and a figure who makes the long hours make sense. Eala has become that figure, not by force, but by consistency. There is also something else Djokovic sees. Modern tennis is hungry for stories that aren't pre-written. The sport has long celebrated prodigies from familiar pipelines. What Eala offers is a reminder that excellence can emerge from less charted routes. Her game, composed, intelligent, unafraid of patience, mirrors a generation that values construction as much as explosion. She doesn't chase points, she earns them. Djokovic, the patron saint of earned points, notices. When a legend acknowledges a rising player's impact, it subtly reframes success. It says, you don't have to win everything to change something. You don't have to be finished to matter now. For Eala, the nod is both validation and responsibility. For tennis, it is an invitation to look again at where the next wave might come from. The exchange also humanizes Djokovic. In his late career role, he has become a steward as much as a competitor. His words, sparse but deliberate, carry a mentorship energy, one that doesn't instruct, but affirms. It is a passing glance across generations, a recognition that the court is big enough for many stories, and that some of the most important ones are just beginning. In time, Eala's resume will fill out. Wins will stack, losses will teach, narratives will evolve. But this moment, this acknowledgement, will linger because it captures a truth tennis sometimes forgets. Impact is not always measured in silverware. Sometimes it is measured in who starts believing. Djokovic has won nearly everything there is to win. When he pauses to say, "It matters," about a young player forging her path, he reminds the sport of its future. And in that quiet affirmation, tennis shifts, just a little, towards somewhere new.